just a good old boy.
Hey y'all, we're hauling hay today, and we have got a lot of things to talk about. At the end of this video, I'm actually going to show my biggest issue that I've had with the Vermeer Baler that y'all watched baleless hay in the last video, and maybe so that way maybe y'all have a little better understanding of what my issues have been and why I've been so frustrated with it. Even though it does do a pretty decent job, but I mean it's hard to get past this issue. So that'll be at the end of the video. But first off, I just want to talk about there's a lot of things going on that I want to talk about today. A while back I had asked our Wyoming Life to make a video because they felt I talked to them in live streams and stuff and understood that they felt the exact same way I did about the cattle industry, and I asked them if they would please make a video on all the issues that we're facing today with cool and everything in this country and what as producers we're up against. And they made a video on it and they knocked it out of the park. I mean, I've tried my best to explain it all, and they made a video that if you're not in the cattle industry, you will know exactly what is wrong with the U.S. cattle industry today and the direction we're headed if we don't fix our problems and what's going to happen if you watch this video. So I cannot stress enough to everybody to please check that video out. I will put a link to it in the description of this video. They did an unbelievable job breaking it down, showing the percentages, explaining every piece and part and step in a short video to where you won't lose attention, and it's very understandable for everyone. And I cannot say thank you enough to them for what they've done. That is going to drastically help all of us cattle producers if it can catch momentum. I've been harping on it for 3 years now, and my base, our channel is small, and it's hard to get to enough people to where everyone understands or where I can get the information out there. So that was why I asked them to do that, and they did an unbelievable job with it, and I just cannot say thank you enough to them for what they did with that video on their own behalf. And take that video and please share it as far as you can to as many people as you can. It's a video that it can be relatable to everyone. If you buy beef products, pork products, turkey products, you need to watch this video, and so that way you understand the issues we have today. You can buy local and kind of bypass everything, but that's not going to fix the market problems. The problem with local beef is, and a lot of people probably wonder, why don't you do local beef and sell all your beef local, and then you can cut out the middleman. It's hard to move the amount of beef it takes to make a full-time living farming, and not just as a little bit of extra money. It is a good avenue if you're trying to make a little extra money to help out, along with do it the other way. There is money to be made there, but the amount of beef and the amount of meat you have to move, it's extremely difficult. You would need a grocery store chain just to sell enough beef to, say, keep a family farm going on your own and never sell through the more traditional way through the markets. And that's why we need to get this fixed. I do agree with local grown beef. I wish that like Dad's told me many times, the perfect thing back when the co-op was, instead of feed stores, they should have done something like that with, if you've been around for a while and you're in ag, you'll understand what I'm talking about. They should have done something like that instead of feed stores, a grocery store chain, so that way farmers would have had a direct way to sell straight to a grocery store chain that we had influence on, and then you could get actual local grown, fed, everything, and it would make it easier for us. It's just hard to go out there. It's extremely difficult with all the laws and regulations and everything to do it locally grown on a larger scale to where you can make a full-time living and actually be sustainably profitable. Doing it is the issue with local grown beef. Small scale, making a little extra money, maybe a side job or a part-time job, something like that, you can do it and be pretty profitable. But all the stuff that you've got to go out and do to make money doing it full-time, it's a lot. And you just to sell that much beef out of privately was just, it would be a tremendous task. And that's why we have the chains, the system we have. That's why it's the way it is. That's why the system that we have today is how it got to be, was because it was just easier that way for everyone to be able to do it that way and be profitable doing it, to where you could actually make a living producing beef and cattle for beef for everyone. And RCAF is a huge proponent of this, on the voice of spreading what I've been talking about for a long time. There's been several others on YouTube. Farming 4G is another one that is very, very vocal about all this as well, along with me. We are both big supporters of RCAF, and he actually steered me to RCAF. I had heard about them, I knew about them, but I thought that they were pretty well gone, because they disappeared there for a while after Cool got in place, and they are the reason why we got Cool to begin with years ago. And if you haven't looked into RCAF, look into them. They're working for the American farmer, rancher, and producer, and trying to help us. I hope that our Wyoming Life's video can reach as many people as possible. Unfortunately, though, a lot of times the videos I have made are not allowed to make or reach as many people as possible. They are not put out there like they should be, I guess, without tripping any thing, to get this one flagged. But they are definitely they're definitely I guess you could say limited, and I hope that their video doesn't get done that way. I know mine has been on certain things, and y'all kind of read between the lines and understand what I'm talking about. And it's very difficult to get this information out there, because there's a lot of people that doesn't want it out there, because they're profiting a lot. And if you look at their video, you will understand 100% completely why, and the amount of money that we're up against today backing this to keep us from being able to get this information out there to you. Speaking of this, one forum that consisted of cattle producers on Facebook has been recently taken down. It was called the Cattleman's Connection, and it was a place where a lot of the cattle producers, several thousand cattle producers, went and discussed things that went on in the cattle industry today, and they were recently targeted and taken down. Their page was on social media or on Facebook, and I've had my own problems with Facebook. If you're wondering why I no longer post videos to Facebook and I just share the links to the YouTube channel, it's because I've had issues with Facebook myself, and I'm not going to go in great detail about it, but I mean they have basically made it very difficult for me to do my make videos and put them on there, and we're basically the point to where it's not worth anything for me to do it, and it's not benefiting the YouTube side in any way either when I do it. So I basically just started sharing all the links to just YouTube instead of going through their platform and making videos to post there. I've recently started and join a new page for Bagwell Farms, our channel, on MeWe. It's MEWE. It's a new social platform that is like Facebook that I'm using, that is not, let's just say you're a little more free over there to do and say what you want. The Cattleman Connection has started a group over there on that side, and I'm working on getting into that now. I just made my page last night for our channel and joining on that side of it, and instead of Facebook, because they don't want the information that a lot of us are talking about, including the Our Wyoming Life and Farming 4G and others have been talking about for a long time, RCAF and others, on their platform, because they are heavily sponsored and backed by certain people in that industry that does not want that information out there. And all this will become very clear what I'm talking about if you go and watch Our Wyoming Life's video on cattle. Let me pull up the video and I'll show it to you. It's right here. It's the first one. It's called "Where is Your Beef Really From?" And I can't stress enough how important it is for everyone to check that video out and look at it and share it. Call your congressman, call your senators, let them know how you feel about it, and tell them how you feel and voice your opinion, because our industry is greatly relying on your voices. Our voices, the groups that we had that voiced our opinions, have either been bought out and no longer voice our opinion, or they are being silenced. And that's just what we're up against. And unfortunately, if we do not keep moving in the direction we're going, and we don't keep fighting and pushing to get something done, there'll be no more U.S. beef industry. Not like it is today, anyway. We will be just like dairy, and we'll go down the same path and the same road that those that were before us in those industries and the pork industry years ago went through. And all that'll be left is a few producers. They will not own the cattle, I don't believe. They'll be growers, and they'll be just like the chicken industry, and all that will be produced here is your top cut beef, and that's it. And the numbers will be drastically lowered, and that will be all that will be produced here. Everything else will be foreign sourced, and God knows what's in it. When they do those inspections and stuff in the plants, on the meat and everything, it's done by a computer. The USDA does it by computer, and I think they have like one person who actually monitors the computers to make sure they're functioning correctly. And we all know how that generally goes and works, and the way things are there. So if y'all would, please help us get this done. It's very crucial. I think it would benefit everybody in the cattle industry if it would drive the price up no matter where you are. Because currently we're in a world market, and we're in a world market set, and until somebody else can drive the prices up, nothing's going to change. Or there's a shortage, which I don't believe there's going to be any shortage until people start quitting. And that's another thing. If you're looking to buy cows, if you're looking to buy any cattle, which not many people are, there's going to be, I think, here over the next couple months, there's going to be a wave of cattle to hit the market, herds, because a lot of people that have smaller herds are not going to want to buy, that has to buy their hay and doesn't grow it or anything. They're not going to want to buy the hay this year to feed their cattle through the winter, because if they have to buy the hay to feed their cattle through the winter, they're either A, not going to make a dime when it's all said and done, or it's going to basically be so small it'll be nothing, or B, they're going to they'll lose money. I've had quite a few people talk to me about that lately, about the hay buying hay and going out and just what it's going to cost, and when it's all said and done, which I know this firsthand for myself because I know what everything costs to buy it. And if you have to feed your own cattle hay on the East Coast with the prices we get, because we don't have feedlots and everything on this side of the country, you have to do that and then buy your hay, not hire somebody just to bale it, but just go out and straight buy it. It's going to be very tough to turn a profit to actually make a living on cattle this year, and that's so there's probably going to be a large increase on cattle hitting the market, mama cows that people can buy probably for a good price going forward. I hope that there's change. It might be a good time to buy cattle if you want to get into it, and hopefully we'll get something done with all this and make enough noise to where we can get something changed, and then you'll come out really good. You can buy them cheap right now and then turn around and in a year's time get your money back out of them and go to making money. Hopefully we can get something done and people keep pushing videos like mine or Our Wyoming Life and others on social media to where we can get our voice out there so people understand what we're up against and get this fixed. And it's very important to everyone, whether you're buying local or whatever, because our markets directly affect the local beef market as well. Because if our beef is cheap, then people aren't going to go buy a lot more expensive local beef. So they kind of have to have their prices kind of around where ours are. Yeah, they're cutting out the middleman and making a little bit extra, but it's still not a lot. And it directly affects even those. So the local thing, I wish that there was a system set up there where more of us could do that and actually be profitable to cut out the middle people. But the way, more like really the way it used to be years ago. But right now it's just not there. And that may be something to look at into the future as well, to help change our industry to where it can benefit the producers more, and the middleman, the commodity traders, and all the people that want to stick their fingers in the pot on our industry. Maybe we could cut all them out, and the people that actually does all the damn work can actually make money again. And that's kind of, that may sound terrible, but you know what? That's the way it used to be. And I'm getting damn tired of making nothing to feed everybody. And there's two things, I've said it many times in this world, that are very important that people have. One's water and one's food. And people that produce food ought to be some of the highest people paid in the world. I don't want to make a killing. I just want to make a decent living. And I'm tired of living in poverty, so that way everybody else doesn't have to do any work to get their food. And I think it's damn time that we got a pay raise, a large one, for all that we have to do. Everybody sees all this equipment and everything, and they think, God, they must make a ton of money. Well, if you've ever run a business and understood what it takes to even turn a profit in a business, you have to have all this equipment to be profitable. It's not like this is a joyride for me and this is my fancy sports car I'm out here and riding around. No, there's a reason why we all drive old trucks that are beat up and everything else. It's because that are for daily drivers. It's because we don't make no money hardly. The equipment that we have is where it makes us our money, so we have to put money into the equipment to turn a profit. It's no different than a carpenter going out and buying a saw. A carpenter has to have a saw to cut the wood so he can make a living. He may not want to buy the nicer saw that he has to have to do certain cuts and different things so he can make his living, but he has to go out and spend that money to get that saw so he can make that living. And that's no different with these tractors and this equipment that we have. It's a cost. It's not because we want it. It's just because it's a cost. It's a cost of doing business in this industry, and it's very expensive. And when it's all said and done and our profit margins are figured up, we make basically what a lot of people make working in the fast food industry. And I know a lot of people probably think that's crazy to think that, but that's the reality of where ag is now. Our industry is being controlled and ruled over by these large corporations that have a monopoly over everything. And you can look at it, it doesn't matter if it's livestock for beef production, or if it's grain products or whatever. All of agriculture is being affected greatly by these large corporations that's coming in and throwing big money out there to get things done the way they want them, to cut the throats of the American farmers and ranchers all across the United States. And basically we're becoming just a tool for them while they make all the money. And it's not right. It's not right at all, because we're the ones that takes all the risk and gets the least amount of reward and does all the work. And I've about had enough of it, to be honest. I don't know what we're going to have to do to fix it, but it's got to be fixed, because it's not right that we go out here and we work like we do, working, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, working our asses off, trying to make a living, and off of nothing in return, and to feed everybody else all across the world. It's not right. If anybody else in any other industry had to deal with what we have to deal with, they wouldn't do it for 2 seconds. And the bailout thing, I'm so tired of hearing bailout, bailout, bailout. Oh, farmers are getting subsidized bailout. I don't receive any of that money. The only people that gets any of that money, which they get very little at all, is people that have their industry has been affected so bad that if they don't do something, they're all going to go under, and it's going to cause a mass problem here in the U.S. for food and starvation around the world. And they step in and give just enough money to keep everybody alive, because they screw it up, because they want to keep all of our markets down so much, so that way we don't have any control or say. Because there's two things, like I said, that matter in this world for absolute people have to live, and that's food and water. And they know, the governments know all around the world, that people who produce food are the ones that could possibly have a lot of power to overthrow governments and stuff, because we control the food. And they don't want us having that kind of power, so they keep our markets down to nothing. They manipulate them and drive them down, so that way we can't make a lot of money and we don't have a lot of influence on how things work. That's the reality of it. I don't want to make millions of dollars a year and be profitable. I just want to make an average, normal living to where I can pay my bills comfortably and not have to worry about them coming in all the time, and how I'm going to pay for them and how I'm going to make it the next day. It's not right that our industry is that way, and we are being controlled and manipulated today by these large companies, and they needs to be something done with these packers, these companies like Cargill that owns the grain, a lot of the grain facilities and everything else. They need to be busted up, just like they did AT&T years ago, the government did, and put back into the smaller companies that they were. They should have never allowed them to buy up all the little individual companies. And yes, they allowed them to do that. And they have destroyed U.S. agriculture today. And I don't think people around the world just know how hard it is for us. We do not get subsidized by our government to buy equipment or anything. We are on our own. The only time we get any kind of money is when they screw it up so bad that it's going to be detrimental to the country if they don't step in and try to correct it. If that's the reality of what's going on today. with the U.S. agricultural, and that's what it's been going on for years. So don't think, and then most of the money that they pass that's supposed to go to farmers who farm grain, it doesn't go to people like me, people that farm grain. Most of the money that they get that is supposed to go to them for aid to help them in a time of need, when the government screwed it up so damn bad that they're all going broke, that most of it goes to their crooked friends and the other politician friends that pay. That's their under the table money that they use a lot to those people. That's where all that money goes. There's so little of it actually gets to the farmer. It's pointless. It really, honestly, it's to the point to where, yeah, we need it, well, some of us need it, but it's just unreal. I just wish I could take a lot of damn people and throw their ass out here and tell them go make a damn living, so then they would have an understanding. People have gotten so far away from ag that they don't have a clue what it takes to put food on the plate. Years ago, and for the last several years, a lot of people worked on their family farms as kids, and they understood what it took. A lot of people now, today, the majority have never stepped foot on a farm. They don't have a clue what it takes to produce that food or anything. And they don't have any respect whatsoever when it comes to what we have to do just to feed them, so they don't have to do anything. And another issue that with this cattle thing that we need to pay a lot of attention to, and I've said this many times, is that we cannot go about this the wrong way. We have to make it clear when we ask for country of origin labeling on beef, pork, and turkey to fix what is wrong, that we do not want cattle ID. We do not need to label our cattle in our home country to prove that they are from our country. It's just a way for the packers not to have to absorb that cost, because they're buying cattle from foreign countries, shipping it in here, and then they want us to have to bear that cost so they don't have to. B, it's also going to be used as a census, so that way the traders and the packers know exactly how many cattle on the hoof is out there in this country alive, so that way they can manipulate our markets further. They're telling you it's for disease control and for traceability, and that is nothing but lies. Those are lies. They're feeding you that crap, just like when they promoted getting rid of cool and said it was going to be better for us. They tried to get that done when we had cool, but they were unsuccessful. One reason why they quit was because they got rid of cool. They didn't need it to do that anymore. If we put cool back in, they're going to want that done. It's crucial that we get cool back to bust up these packers that have this monopoly over the U.S. cattle industry. But it's also very crucial that we stand stiff and tall and do not give in and take in cattle ID, because the problem with cattle ID is not the cost of the tags that we will have to absorb. It is going to be expensive. I think it is going to be, which is over an entire herd to make a living, it's going to be expensive. But I think it's like $2 a head for those tags. If it was just $2 a head, that's fine. But what they're not accounting for is all the work and labor that goes into catching that animal, to tag that animal, to travel to all the farms, especially on the East Coast, where most people only have farms that are 50, 60, 70, 80 acre pastures that they have cattle in. And if you're making a living in the cattle industry on the East Coast, you generally are probably going to have 10 to 15 of those pastures, and you're going to have to drive around miles due to all the people that's on the East Coast, traveling, fuel expenses, labor expenses. Then you're going to have to buy facilities to handle the cattle, to get the cattle up, to take those tags and put those tags in that calf's ear, write all that information down, and keep records of it. Do you honestly think that a group of people in the United States that is on average, the most people in the cattle industry are from 50 to 70 years old, are going to go out and do all that work and be out all that expense and have to hire somebody younger to help them do that job because they can't do it themselves, and that have smaller herds and maybe only do it part-time? Some of them does it to make a living and are smaller time, but they barely get by making a living and trying to make money. Do you honestly believe that those people are going to go out and do that and try to make it? No, they're going to sell their cattle and they're going to quit. which is also what those industries want done, because they're trying to make the cattle industry just like they did dairy, just like they did the pig industry and pork, and they're trying to make it like the chicken industry. They want at the end game to control everything from the ground, from the time that animal hits the ground to the time it leaves, and then make all the money, and then they dictate how much money they give you. And the second you think you're getting ahead, it'll just be like the cattle industry. There'll be some new certification you have to go at, get equipment, process, or something, and they will knock you back down and dictate exactly how much money you make, and you will never get ahead. That is what is going to happen. You can ask anybody that's been in the chicken industry for years, and they will tell you right now they're making good money. They're making decent money right now in the chicken industry, but it will not last. The chicken companies are going to come in eventually, and they're going to demand all these updates for all these people that's bought all these houses, that's put all this money into these chickens and everything else, and lay a huge update cost. You have to buy the equipment from that company to update those houses and everything else that goes into there, and they dictate the cost of that equipment that goes in there, and then they knock you right back down and give you a big fat loan that you have to pay again. And if you don't do it, they cut you out of your chickens and take them away. Don't know who that is. They take your chickens away, and then you're at their mercy. You have to do everything, and the cattle industry will be no different. They'll own the cattle. They'll come on our farms. They'll send field men out to check and make sure everything we're doing is correct. We will work for them. We will own the land, but we will work for them. They'll have a process, a certain feed amount ratio we have to feed them, things that we have to do. They'll probably even give us tell us how much money we have to spend on equipment to do the jobs that we have to do. And we'll have to work between those lines, and basically we'll be, well, pretty much sharecroppers with them, and we'll be working for them and living for them, and they won't ever let us get ahead on our own no matter what we do. That is the reality of dealing with these companies. That is the reality of what they want to do, and they will do it if we allow them to. And people need to get off their ass and go out there and fight to keep things the way they are. They've worked for years this way. This needs the way it needs to stay. It's the best way to produce food for the American public that is clean and that is safe and that is the best meat in the world, because these companies only care about the bottom line, and they are not interested in that animal and how it's taken care of and the quality that is put out there. All they care about is their profitability margins. At the end of the day, would you rather have a farmer that actually cares about the quality of his animal and what he's putting forward every day, and how much, or have a company that dictates across the board, well, we can't do this because we don't need to, can't turn a profit doing that. The consumer will never know it, so we'll just do it anyway. They've done it for years and everything. You want to talk about the nastiest thing in the world you can eat? Oh boy, these women are crazy about chicken, but let me tell you something. They ain't nothing on this planet no nastier than a damn chicken. That is the nastiest animal there is on the face of the earth, but yet people eat it every day. You're talking about an animal that pecks around in its own poop, eating maggots and insects that from its own poop that every day. And you're eating that and putting it in your mouth. Boy, don't that taste good. I bet that cow that eats nothing but grass or feed grain, corn, is looking awful good right now when you realize that the animal that you love to eat loves to eat maggots and peck around in its own shit. But that's the part that our beef checkoff dollars are supposed to be going for, is to promote beef and advertise beef in our industry so that way we can make money. But yet our checkoff dollars aren't even being used. They're putting them in the bank down in Atlanta, Georgia down here, and they don't even use them. And everybody has to pay into that. And they're not promoting beef because they're more worried about producing a piece of meat out of a tube in a lab that they can 100% control everything, and no matter, God knows what's in it. God only knows what's in it and what's been done to it, and it's fake, and producing something like that and then using your checkoff dollars that comes out of your checks for your cattle to go out and try to promote and sell shit that's only going to hurt your market. And to the people that want to sit around and say that, oh, well, check out, but the lab-grown meat is going to help the American cattle producer because it's going to consider the lower cut meat for ground beef and stuff. How in the hell do you come up with that? Here's a new shock. That's no different than the crap that they sold you on country of origin labeling when we lost 40 to 50% of our market share on our cattle. How do you think that producing something to take the place of actual meat sales is going to help your cattle? Because let me tell you something, Jack. The meat that's out there that they're taking place of with fake meat is now sitting there on the market, and it's going to be there, and it's going to flood the market even further with more beef. Even though it's lower cuts, it's going to flood the market with more cattle and more beef, further driving your prices down. So you better wake up and open your eyes, because that's another huge thing that we have going on. And for all the growers of chickens that's out there, and y'all are probably sitting there, y'all partners with Tyson's and whoever, they're producing fake chicken now as well as selling it. KFC just tried down here in Atlanta selling fake fried chicken. It's, they're producing it. And apparently it did very well from the ratings. Well, y'all better wake up, because soon Tyson's is not going to have near the chicken growers that they've got now. And they're going to be producing more in labs and other ways of fake meat for you to eat. And y'all are going to be out of a job too. So I think everybody needs to wake up on these companies and exactly what they're doing. So if you would, please go watch the video that our Wyoming Life made on cattle recently. I showed you the clip of it. Go watch it. If you want to keep up with even more news and daily things that goes on every day, you can continue to watch my channel and on here and share our channel with more people, because I'm not going to bullshit and lie to you or sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you the truth of what's actually going on today out here in the real world of ag and what all we've got going on. So thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And if you want to see the little clip of the premiere deal I've been having, stay tuned, because it's starting right now. Everybody's always wondering, and I'm not picking on, let me make this clear, I'm not picking on Premier. This is just the Baler that I have that they produced. The 504M, everybody always wants to know why do you complain about it versus a Klaus, and I'm going to show y'all. I've never showed this before in person, and this is every bale that comes out of this Baler. Every now and then you'll get lucky and there'll be one that's actually the way it should be. And this is why I have such an issue with this Baler. This Baler, when I was baling the other day in the last video I showed y'all, the pressure gauge on that Baler was nearly in the red. It was tightened down really tight. Everything was like it should be, and it should make a good dense bale. So what I'm going to show y'all here is exactly why I complain about this Baler so much. I should not be able to do that in that bale of hay. And that's the problem I have with that Baler. Now, Premier's other balers are not this way. This was just solely the 504M. The Classic was just like the L. They put the core density and everything back in those balers to where it would actually bale like it should. It was a mistake that they had with that Baler. A lot of people's always wondered what is the problem. I've never really showed it because, one, it's going to kill my resale value on this Baler. But I just wanted to bring clarity, because I get asked, everybody's all the time, I can't see anything wrong with it, I can't see anything wrong with it. And that's why. That's the problem with that Baler. Klaus, they're tight through and through. And the other issue that I've always had with that Baler is that right there. Half the bale, like that one up there, the net will tear on every so often. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. It's because of the strips that they have that run along the belt. Sometimes it will just hang and tear the net. They're still running that same strip system today. I noticed the other day, which I was a little bit disappointed on, their new balers for 2020 they're coming out with, that were, some of them were front loads. Now they're going to the rear load system that they run now. And I'm very disappointed with that because I know that it's going to be more of that. I still see posts all the time with the new R's on forums and stuff. They're still doing that. And that's the only gripes I've really got with Vermeer. But the thing with these are, I cannot stress enough before everybody gets mad at me and starts writing me a bunch of nasty comments, that this was solely on the 504M. They only made it for plain 504M, not the 504M Classic. They come out with a Classic after the 504M failed. They only had the 504M out for 1 to 2 years, and we were one of the ones that bought it. We actually sent the Baler back to the dealer. Vermeer came and worked on the density stuff on it, and they said that there was nothing wrong with the Baler and there was nothing they could do. And they had absolutely zero solution for any of our problems. My dad, at the time I was a lot younger, my dad actually told him that if he'd known this Baler was like this, he would have never bought it. And understandably so. I mean, when you got a bale that's like that, there's a reason for it, and that's why I've always complained about that Baler. So I hope everybody understands now the reasons why I haven't talked about it to this point and why I have such